The heart of Deconstructing Worded Questions Year 6 is it'll help children to make connections between questions, connections they might not otherwise have seen. Let's have a look at some of the tasks and how that's done. So in the first question from the Compare the Info task family, children need to compare the images to derive the value of a rectangle and then of a semicircle. Then from there, we have a look at a question which involves the same deep structure of the maths, but with a slightly different presentation, where again, children need to compare the images to derive the heights of the rectangle and of the square. Following on from that, we have a question which has a very different presentation, but really the same underlying structure. 3 adults and 2 children go to the show and we have values, and 2 adults and 2 children. We need to compare the information and then derive the value of an adult ticket and of a child ticket. And by presenting that information together, having those 3 questions that seem so different, but actually share the same deep structure, children see the connections between them. Similarly, they move to questions which have very similar deep structure, but very different on the surface. And children make connections between those questions. Now, Task B version 2 differs slightly from Task B version 1, just insofar as there's more challenge in the number range that's involved in the calculation. But again, children making those all-important connections. In contrast, sometimes children are given questions that on the surface look identical and they need to spot the differences between them. Tom has £30, he spends 3/5 of his money on a toy. How much does the toy cost? In comparison to, there are 30 coins on the table, 3/5 are showing heads. How many showing tails? Children needing to see there, actually we're looking for 2/5. In comparison to Jo has read 3/5 of a book. She has read 30 pages. How many pages long is Jo's book? This time, the 30 is not the whole, but it's 3/5. Children, again, needing to be detectives to spot those differences. So it's the sequence of questions and the changes between the questions that help children to make those all-important connections.